Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to our fourth episode of the U.S. History GCast as presented by Gibsonian Institute. Our topic today is how a bill becomes a law, Illinois style. But first, before we get into too many details, we first need to look at our question from yesterday that I posed to the class. Why does half of the Illinois Senate get reelected every 2 years? And our correct answer comes from Chloe. You're right on. You're spot on, Chloe. We vote on half of the Senate every 2 years so that we have experienced members instead of having all new members. We were re-electing an entirely new batch of 59 senators every 4 years. There's very little chance that someone with a lot of experience would be, maybe not very little chance, but there would be a lot of turmoil changing over from the old guard to the new guard. So by doing it every 2 years, we can ensure that we have people that know what's happening and how the procedures should be followed each time these 2 years come around. So great job, Chloe. And our objective today is to understand how a bill becomes a law in Illinois. So let's get started with our first slide here. We're going to look at the lawmaking process. There's some specific rules that we're going to go through first, beginning with that bills need to be read on 3 different days before a final vote can be passed. So you can't just run right through a bill and get it passed lickety split. You gotta there's a process. You gotta make sure, just in case maybe someone is absent for some strange reason, that gives them opportunities to hear this bill so that all of a sudden it's not passed and they didn't even know what was happening. Most bills are to be confined to one subject. That means they're not going to have a bill that's supposed to be about building a highway, and then all of a sudden it's going to also have something about lunches. So you're going to try to keep those separated. That is a topic that we may remember with the U.S. Lawmaking process that gets a little bit more murky. Now, a bill passed in both houses must be sent to the governor within 30 days. It may sound weird that it's going to give them a month to take it down the hall, but the reason being is that maybe something's happening, let's say perhaps a worldwide epidemic, where a bill may have been voted on and passed, but it's just not the right time to sign this thing into action. So the House can sit on it, or the Senate can sit on it for a little while, but they do need to bring it to the governor within that 30-day period, or maybe perhaps some other extenuating circumstance. But it's not just, oh, we lost the bill, where do we put it? Let's find it and make sure we get it to them within a month. There's other circumstances that's there for. And then once that bill gets to the governor has 60 days to sign it or return it with a veto. We'll get into that business in a little bit. But after 60 days, if there is no action, it automatically becomes a law. So that's a reason that might happen is the governor may not want to specifically say whether they really support it or are against it, but they'll just kind of let it slide and kind of let that process play out. All right. Now, committees. There's going to be committees within the lawmaking body within the General Assembly on both sides, and they're going to meet to devise bills for specific topics. And some examples I've listed here are education or public health, but there's also ones like such things such as labor or revenue. So they're going to primarily focus on those topics and try to make bills on those topics rather than have everyone try to cover everything. It's better to kind of divide and conquer this work. Now, continuing on with the lawmaking process, there are some restrictions. Representatives may not receive an appointment by the governor to another public office, so you cannot be a state representative or senator and also be the attorney general. It doesn't mix. That's too much going on. You cannot manage both of those positions, so you cannot have another public office as appointed by the governor. You may not hold any other state-level public office, so again, that would be like the attorney general or lieutenant general, but you may hold a second county or municipal office. So if you were the Cook County clerk and you were also a state representative, that'd be okay. It'd be a lot of work, so maybe not the greatest example, but that would be allowed, provided it's not going to restrict your ability as a state official. And then you could also serve in a municipal office municipal office, which would be like serving as a trustee or on a school board, or maybe even something like a mayor or something on just a town level. All representatives must file a statement of economic interest. That way, you're not going. We can be sure that you're not looking to line your own pockets with more money because you're gonna pass bills that are gonna benefit yourself. You're a public servant if you're a representative of the state, not a representative of yourself, right? So you're supposed to be serving the people, and one way to make sure we can monitor this is to see what economic interest people might have. So if you had been a lawyer, or a better example, maybe you had been a business owner in a certain industry, it would be unlikely that the committee that you would be involved in would have something to do with that specific industry as well. In case that you still own that kind of business, maybe you own a bar, and you're going to make it easier to get a liquor license. That's going to make it easier for you to make more money, so that's going to feed into your economic interest. They may not receive a salary increase during their term. Once you're elected, that's your salary until you fulfill that term. And then last thing here, neither house can adjourn or leave or say that they're done with their work without the approval of the other. So if the Senate finishes early, they've got to wait for the House to catch up. They can't just go home. For this slide, I'm going to have to get my face off the screen because there's a lot of details to get involved into here. So we're going to need all the space we can. This is going to be the lawmaking process in detail, so all the steps. So first, it all begins with an idea. In order to get something passed, you got to have an idea that's worth bringing in front of the General Assembly, and that is going to be the next step. The bill is going to be introduced, talked about. That's its first time being read out loud. Then state legislators are going to discuss and debate the topic, might go down into more of the details, and keep moving along. So if it's favorable, people think that it's a good idea, it'll keep moving. And the ways it'll move along is that it's going to be approved by whatever committee it best fits. If it's something that has to do with schools, it's going to go to the Education Committee. If it's approved by the committee, it'll keep on traveling. It'll get read one more time to the General Assembly, the second time. After it's read the second time, if there's any suggestions by the General Assembly to make any adjustments, they'll do so, and then there will be one last reading on a different day than the other two readings, and then there will be a vote. If it is passed, it will, let's say this bill was introduced in the House, it'll be sent over to the Senate, and they will have to approve it. Vice versa, if it was passed first in the Senate, it would then be sent over to the House, and they would have to approve it as well. Once it's approved by both chambers, it is sent to the governor for action. There's a few actions the governor can take. We're going to look at all the ones that will eventually result in a law. So the golden arrow leading to the golden box. Our first scenario, the bill is approved and it becomes a law. And that's it. It's done. Now, however, there's various ways that this can still go besides just becoming a law. Bill is vetoed with recommendations. So the governor says, I like it, but we should tweak it a little bit. So they'll send those recommendations back with the veto. The chambers will, the General Assembly will meet and talk about it, probably take some of those recommendations into consideration, send it back, and then it could be looked at again by the governor. Or it can just be outright vetoed. I don't like this, get it out of my way, and then that's that. If it's vetoed outright, just like that, it can be overruled by a 3/5 majority, and then it would become a law. Or it will become a law if that 60-day period lapses. All right, so all of these scenarios will and could result in, let that bar get out of the way, could and will result in the law or bill being passed into a law. All right, fantastic. So what I'd like to do now is just, we've talked about this in Google Classroom, but I will be interviewing a actual historian this coming weekend for a video for Monday. So what I'd like to do, and some of you have already done this, It's not a topic that we've covered recently with you in 8th grade, but it is still a worthwhile topic to look into, especially having an opportunity to talk to a historian. Look at the post that I made, look at those readings. It's optional, of course, but I think it'll be very beneficial, and it's a worthwhile topic talking about the Middle Passage and the banning of the slave trade. So take a look at those things. Submit the Google form if you got any questions. Remember the incentive that's put out there for people that get their questions selected by our guest historian. So there's definitely something in it for you. And plus, it'd be pretty cool to have a historian answer your question. I mean, that's not every day that happens. And then getting back to the work here, there is an exit slip to complete. I'm just going to simply ask you, how does a bill become a law? So as long as you've been following along, that'll be easy peasy. Another note of housekeeping, I will have office hours starting every day, beginning with tomorrow from 12:30 to 1 p.m. So if you need any help with anything, or if you just want to chit chat, you'll find me on the Google Meet. So all the instructions to find me on there will be posted tomorrow with the link. If you have any other than that, you can always email me through your student account that's up and running. Please email me to the .us, not the .net. The .us is a little bit easier to respond to you with. The .net doesn't always have the attachments fitted in a great way. So other than that, I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.